Hello and welcome to the Gradcracker webinar with MathWorks, our final webinar of 2024, and what a way to end the year. My name is Sophie, I'm a director at Gradcracker and I've been with the business for 12 years. I've been working with MathWorks for the last 4 years and I'm really excited for you all to find out more about them today. I'm also joined by my co-director Jessica, who I'm sure many of you will recognise from previous webinars and the many university presentations she delivers every term.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Sophie. And yes, hi everyone. Hopefully you do recognise me because I have done my rounds over the last couple of months. So my name's Jess. I'm marketing director and worked at Gradcracker for many, many years. And yes, I'm very looking forward to this session today. I'm looking forward to hearing from Amy and the team to see what's been going on because we last did our webinar in January, didn't we, Amy? So looking forward to seeing what's been going on.
Thank you very much, Jess. So today, during our webinar, our aim is to find out more about MathWorks, their opportunities, and what life is like working there. Starting with our contact, Amy, the early careers recruiter, we'll have an introduction to the business and their opportunities. The rest of the panel from MathWorks will then talk to you about their educational background, their day-to-day roles, how the graduate programme works, and what life is like at MathWorks and their future plans. Towards the end of the webinar, we'll discuss the recruitment process and give you some hints and tips on how to be successful securing a role at MathWorks, including some of the individual experiences of our graduates. There will also be a few questions from you, our students, dotted throughout the webinar that you've kindly submitted in advance of today. Okay, so let's get started. Amy, welcome back. And can you tell us all about MathWorks?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel like it was only a couple of months ago since we were last here. So this year has flown by, which is always good. So who are we? So MathWorks, so we are a privately held global software company. We make MATLAB and Simulink, which I'm sure many of you are either using currently during your studies or you're planning to further in your education. So our tools are used across many industries, so not just education, obviously how you guys would come across us, but we're in like automotive, like finance, pharmaceuticals, you name it, we're probably there somewhere. So very, very broad in terms of the industries that we cover. And we've got over 6,000 staff now across the world. We've got 34 offices. And then Cambridge in the UK is our third biggest office with just over 300 members of staff. And then we have interns that join us each summer as well, which is really nice, really good fun. Another thing I guess quite good, well, really important to note is that we've been profitable every year since we were founded, which is a really big plus. And then obviously being privately held still means that as an organization, it allows us to really plan for the longer term and focus on what's important to us and our people. And then for MathWorks, I guess the important thing that we focus on alongside our products is our people. So that's a bit about us. And I guess with that, comes growth of our product range, growth of our people, and two other, I guess, key initiatives in terms of like our plans for the future that has sort of tied into that have been our sustainability efforts. We've had some really aggressive goals to decarbonize MathWorks and help address climate change. So that's something that as an organization we're really passionate about and doing a lot of work in. And also, I guess the second one is on the diversity, equity and inclusion. That's something that we continue to build upon year on year. I guess the final thing that I'd like to note about MathWorks is that we are actually number 4 on Glassdoor's best place to work for 2024. So hopefully that kind of speaks for itself as well, talking about who we are as a company.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amy. And yeah, some of the points that Amy's just made there in terms of the sustainability policies and the work they're doing there and their diversity and inclusion, you can find out more about that on the Gradcracker Company Hub when you explore, hopefully following this webinar. So thank you very much for the introduction, Amy. Let's move on to the roles that you offer. So can you give us an overview of the opportunities that you recruit each year and the ones that you've currently got advertised on the Gradcracker Company Hub?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So on the early career side, I look after all of the hiring for the UK, whether that is our interns, our student ambassadors on campus, and then our early careers program as well. So we have our traditional early careers program, which you'll hear more from the team about in the webinar. We also have a new one for this year, which has a focus on a sales career pathway, which is also on Gradcracker, if you haven't seen that one already. And then we have our internships. So we have our software development internships, and we also have a UX internship as well. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, the roles that we have right now on Gradcracker. And then typically every year, this is pretty consistent as to the sort of positions that we're hiring for.
That's great. Thank you, Amy. And can you tell us a little bit more about the requirements that you have to apply to one of your internships or graduate programs?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So with our graduate programs and internships, so the traditional graduate program, so the non-sales one, we look for a master's or a PhD qualification. So we are sort of looking for that additional year of experience, obviously developing more skills, having a little bit deeper domain knowledge, because as part of the program, which you will hear about, is working with our customers. So kind of getting that deeper knowledge can be really useful. So we look for sort of a master's or PhD, and sort of developing that depth of your skills. And then we also have our, as I mentioned, our sales position, which we look for somebody from a technical background. This is a bachelor's degree entry, and that are looking to then use their sort of technical knowledge, knowing like our tools, to then move into a career pathway through sales and through our sort of sales organization as well.
Great stuff. And in terms of degree backgrounds, what disciplines would be kind of perfect for your roles?
So any STEM really. So we've had success with, say, like engineering, computer science, but also maths, physics, natural sciences. We look for obviously that technical sort of background and that interest in their move, like having that problem solving mindset. So it's very much about bringing that technical degree, but into having that interest in problem solving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you don't have to be a software engineer by trade to be able to apply.
You don't have to be a computer scientist. You don't have to be super skilled in software development. We look for people that are interested in that, of course. And we find a lot of degree programs within STEM can lend really nicely into the work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Amy. So in terms of location, you mentioned that you are based in Cambridge, third biggest office for MathWorks. Talk to me a little bit about kind of what work life looks like. You know, are you in the office all the time? Is it hybrid working? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have a hybrid approach here. So we have 3 days in the office, and 2 of those days are the same for everybody. So currently we have Tuesdays and Thursdays where everyone will come into the office, which is really great because obviously a bit of a buzz. There's lots of in-person collaboration. A lot of teams will focus meetings around these days as well. And there's things like free food and different things going on those days. And then there's a third day, which is really kind of up to the individual, whether it's based on wanting to be in person for certain meetings or obviously work-life balance, flexibility. And some people like to come in the office every day. So offices are open. So there is the option to be in the office 4 days, 5 days. And then one final thing to mention on that, we also offer 4 weeks of work from anywhere else in the world. So for up to 4 weeks, you can be, I don't know, visiting friends and family abroad, extending holidays, that kind of thing, working from another location, which is a really, really great plus and helps, especially when you've got people that you don't see often and maybe your parents live in another country, and it can really help with that flexibility too.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a really good point to bring up. And I think when we were doing our prep call as well, we were talking to you know, the other members of the panel, and some of you come in every day of the week, some of you come in for the 3 days. So there really is that kind of mix depending on what you want to do. So thank you for that, Amy. Before we kind of move on, all of the graduates that are on the panel today are on the Engineering Development Group programme. Could you just kind of start off the webinar by telling us a little bit more about what that programme really involves?
Yeah, of course. So this program is essentially our entry pathway into a longer term career with MathWorks. So this is kind of the part where we're really heavily investing in supporting you from your education to working in industry. So you're in a team obviously working with like-minded individuals. All of our graduates, early careers are all together in the same area. So you're really surrounded by, say, peers. And we start with a training plan to get you fully up to speed, learning some of the basics of moving into a corporate position. Lots of learning, so lots of support to get you settled into your role, and then you move into rotational project work and what we call technical support. So it's very unique, and the project work is really, you are choosing teams that you work with across the organization. So that depends on kind of what you're interested in, what you want to do, if there's certain technical skills you want to develop. So you're not in fixed rotations where you have to do things that maybe you don't want to do. So there is flexibility there, which is quite unique. And we find that really appeals, having that exploration side. And the other part of the role is the technical support aspect, which is where you're working directly with our customers. So these are, again, customers across various industries, helping them solve complex problems within our tools, within MATLAB and Simulink, and really learning how industry users are using our tools. So you have to see it from the other side, which lends really well into a longer term career within software development, alongside building technical communication and all of those other soft skills as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Amy. I have our first question now from Harry at the University of Southampton, who wanted to ask Amy, if I haven't used MathWorks software at university, can I still be successful in applying to you?
Absolutely, yes. So we provide all of the training and support. It's not a requirement to know our tools, and we actually have such a large product range right now that you couldn't be expected to know all of them, some of them. And I mentioned the customer work that you're doing, and that can also be a really key part with your learning, because you're learning through working with these customers. And when it comes to obviously the skills that we're looking for, again, not all of our teams are working in MATLAB. We have some teams that are working in C++, some do a bit of Python, some are JavaScript, Go. So we're not just looking for somebody that is an expert user in our tools. It's about sort of how you learn, how you adapt, your problem-solving abilities as well. And I guess if we can't teach someone MATLAB, then I'm not too sure who'll be best placed to. So yeah,
no, absolutely.
Don't let that put you off from applying.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Amy. We'll be coming back to you towards the end of the webinar to run through the recruitment process. But now I'm really excited because we're going to meet the rest of the panel from MathWorks. So we're joined by Amelia, Corey, Anusha and Carl, who are all graduates at MathWorks, as I mentioned, in the Engineering Development Group. So over to you, Jess.
Perfect. Thank you, Surf. And thank you, Amy. And Amy, I just wanted to make one little point and highlight a little point that you made, which I think was really good as well. You mentioned that, you know, MathWorks is profitable each year since they launched. And I think, you know, maybe students think, well, you know, why do I need to know that? And what's the benefit of knowing that information? But it's a huge benefit, isn't it? You know, you've said that as a company, you're wanting to grow. You know, there's so many different industries that you work across. And I just think that was a really great point to make, that I think sometimes students maybe wouldn't even consider, is that a good thing to know about, you know, to do your research in that? Is the company really making a profit each year? And I just thought that was a good little comment to make. I thought, yeah, that is something students do need to know. So thank you for sharing that with us.
That's fine. I think, as I said, it kind of reflects on as a company, we do look at the longer term. We're a very secure and stable environment. It's not up and down, reacting to things quickly. Having, obviously, being privately owned, we can make those longer term decisions and be very conscious in what we're doing as we grow as well.
And I suppose it's a bit like us with here at Gradcracker stuff, isn't it? You know, that's why, you know, you like that. You've got that stability, you're in control, and you know that it's all going in the right direction, which is really, really great. And I just thought it was a really good point to make. So thank you, Ian, for that. And sorry, guys, we'll come back to you now. So yes, Amelia, I'm going to start with you first, if that's okay. So what I'd like to know first is a bit of an introduction. So where did you go to university and what did you study?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I'm Amelia, and I recently graduated from the University of Oxford with a master's in general engineering, with more of a focus on controls, computer vision, machine learning, and computer engineering. I actually interned at MathWorks in the summer of 2023 for a couple of months, where I worked in the cloud platform integrations team. Just a bit of background on the team. The cloud platform integrations team is just working to ensure that customers are able to use MathWorks products in public cloud platforms like Azure or Amazon Web Services. And I've rejoined MathWorks now as a grad, and I've been in the grad scheme for just over 2 months. So it's still very early days.
Absolutely. So Amelia, just to go back a bit, so you did your internship, and what year were you in when you did your internship? Was it a summer position? When did you start?
Yeah, so it's summer after my 3rd year, so it was before I did the final year of my master's. So it was a 4-year integrated degree.
Fantastic. And why was you interested in MathWorks and doing an internship with them? What was kind of the appeal at first?
So I had an interest in software development, but I didn't want to join a company that was too far removed from engineering workflows. So I liked the fact that MathWorks weren't just developing a product that required software engineers, they were developing a product that required software engineers that was used by other engineers in academia, research, and industry. So it was very, very closely aligned, both with the industry I wanted to be in and also the areas that I've been studying throughout my degree. So it just seemed a very good amalgamation of the two.
That word reminds me of you, Seth, amalgamation.
I knew you were going to say that before you even said the word.
Every time she says the word amalgamate, she says it in a funny way. Do you want to share with the group?
No, I don't.
Sorry, Amelia, that was a really silly thing in my mind. Every time we're in like a meeting, and you know, we say the word amalgamate, we all go, so and so, say it. Anyway, moving on. So Amelia, so you obviously you've mentioned about your internship. So why then, doing your internship, did you feel as though you wanted to pursue a career with MathWorks? What was the moment? Did you have a particular moment think, oh yes, I really could imagine my graduate journey with MathWorks, or was it a progressive situation throughout your internship?
It was progressive. I think I really enjoyed the internship, and I think that gave me a real gut feeling towards wanting to join the company. I think a lot of the time you've got to go on sort of gut feelings. Do I enjoy it? Do I enjoy it? That's sort of a really important part. The people were so friendly. It was incredibly welcoming. There was a lot of, even just during my internship, there was a lot of training and support on learning new technologies and tools. So it felt like a really, really strong company to join if I want to continue to develop my skills, which was a really key factor for me in choosing a graduate job. I love the location too. Got to take that into account, and I really, really liked Cambridge and living in Cambridge.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. And also, and I always like to ask this question because I'm a massive fan of students doing an internship or a year in industry or any kind of work experience. How did you find then your final year of study when you had that experience, you went back to uni, and would you say it helped you in any way? And did you feel as though you looked at it slightly different your final year?
Yeah, I think it's really good to get a break from academia and get some context of working in industry. And the nature of the internships is that you undertake a project for around 3 months. And the process of taking on this new project, ramping up on something you've probably got very, very little prior experience with, and then sort of conducting that project. And that whole process is really, really applicable to the process of your dissertation or thesis. That tends to take up a lot of time in a master's year. Yeah. So the link between the two was really strong. And I found that I could apply a lot of the project-based planning skills over to university, even if the actual skills I were doing were quite different. the general sort of soft skills of planning and executing a project relatively independently, there was a really strong connection between the internship and the dissertation.
So you definitely recommend it to the audience that are listening then?
It's great to get industry experience at some point.
Yeah.
It really helps widen your perspective in general and see sort of how things are used outside of academia. It's a very different way to work.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Amelia, for that. So talking a bit about life now then, so tell us a bit about the team that you work in. What's the team like? What's the structure like? I know you haven't been there very long, but if you could give us a bit of an insight there.
Yeah, so as Amy mentioned, I'm in the engineering development group, or the EDG as we call it. And it's really, really, really friendly. Everyone's been incredibly welcoming. And we generally split our time halfway between half of it spent on supporting customers and working with them to resolve issues they're facing, and also ramping up on MathWorks products in parallel. And then we also conduct projects with other teams in MathWorks, which allows us to see what's going on in terms of more of a development perspective. You can do projects with various different teams depending on what you're interested in. It's really self-led. So that's how time is spent. But I haven't started doing projects yet. I'm too new for that.
So when will that start to come through then? And can you start to decide what point you start to decide what projects you'll be working on?
So I'm starting to decide now. We have 3 months of training, just general training where we're mainly just working with customer cases and getting to know the MathWorks products because there's so many of them. And then after those 3 months, we then start doing projects with different teams in MathWorks. And it's up to us really how early on we want to reach out, who we want to have chats with, which areas we want to focus on, whether we want to do more of a development, software development kind of project, or continue to work more closely with customers in more detail, or consider, say, training. There's a lot of different areas to look at, but it's very, very self-led. So there's a lot of flexibility there.
That's good to know. Yeah. So you need to be that kind of self-driver, self-motivator, go and find
definitely helps
what's going on. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. So thank you so much, Amelia. We're going to come back to you a little bit later on to find out a little bit more, but a perfect introduction there. So thank you so much. Corey, I'm going to come to you next. Similar kind of questions at first. So where did you go to university and what did you study?
Yes, I did a integrated master's in aeronautical engineering in Imperial College in London.
Fantastic. And tell us also a bit about your internship, because I'm right in saying that you did an internship with MathWorks as well, and that obviously influenced you to pursue a graduate career with them. So what was that like?
So I actually didn't do an internship.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I think he's the only one that didn't.
I'm the only one in this current panel. Yeah.
I saw your face drop and stuff, and I thought, oh, have I said something wrong? No, you didn't. So I do apologise. You didn't do an internship with MathWorks.
No, yes, yeah, I didn't do one, but I joined in March of 2022. So I'm one of the most tenured in the team currently. So, but no internship. I kind of just went down the straight graduate route, and then I identified MathWorks as a great company to work for, and yeah, everything kind of worked out from there.
And was it March time, did you say you started?
Yes, March 22, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So what's life been like then since then, and what experiences so far have you had at MathWorks? Tell us a bit about that journey since 2022.
It's been, I think, well, it's been a lot. There's a lot of stuff I've done. So obviously going through kind of what Amelia's been going through at the moment, kind of like the new hire period, I kind of gone through a lot of that and therefore have learned quite a lot. Given I've been in the team like quite a while, I've got a really good exposure to basically really all the products we have and a lot of the kind of customer applications of our products. So this has kind of helped specifically when I've gone in to do kind of projects. I've had a really comprehensive understanding of that customer perspective. But given I've been in it a while, there's not been a point when I haven't been kind of doing something new. Every time you're doing something, there's always something new. So it's never been bored at all during that since I joined, really.
Really, really nice. So that almost every day is different. I know that line gets used around a lot, doesn't it? That every day is different and every day you don't know what you're going to walk into. But I can imagine it is, especially with Amy's introduction, you've got so many different clients, so many different products. Every problem is going to be slightly different. So I can imagine that really is the case with you guys. Tell us a
Yes,
bit
yeah,
then
absolutely.
about your team then, Corey. What does that look like? Is that similar to Amelia, or is it slightly different for you?
Yes, yeah. So I'm also an engineer in the engineering development group, or the EDG.
Yeah.
So all of us are in the same role in the same team, but what you do is can change over the time you're in the team. So you can get involved with kind of different technical areas or different responsibilities within the team that you do, in addition
Yeah.
to the projects that you do. So even though you'll start at the same point, we're in the same team, you do kind of go your own paths as you go
Right,
through your
okay.
time in the team.
Fantastic.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in there. Sorry, Jess. So Corey, do you do a lot of work with the other, and I know you've mentioned that you do obviously work with different project teams and, technical support, but do you do work together as the engineering development group? So, would you be working with Carla, Anusha and Amelia on particular things as well?
Yes, yes. So I'd say there's probably two areas that I would work with the team specifically. So one is when you're working kind of doing technical support by helping the customers, we are the technical support team. So like
Okay.
so as the kind of UK graduates, we're covering like the UK, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, the Nordics, and some other regions around the world. So we're working collectively as a team on all of those all the time.
Yeah.
When we're on those support weeks. But then if you're not doing technical support, you might actually be doing aspects within the team. I mentioned kind of you can do other roles in the team, and you may be doing some of that involves working with Carl or Amelia or Anusha. So yes, technical support, yes, definitely much. There's a team effort there, but there's a lot of opportunities otherwise to do kind of other projects and around that.
Lovely. Thank you, Corey.
Brilliant. Thank you, Corey. So Anusha, I'm going to come to you again just to do a quick introduction. So where did you go to university and what did you study?
So like Corey, I'm also from Imperial College and I have an integrated master's in design engineering.
Fantastic. And I am right in saying you did do two summer placements. I'm probably there now. I'm like frantically checking my notes. So yeah, tell us a bit about that experience, and again, a bit like how I asked Amelia, was that a bit of a yes, I definitely want to pursue a career with MathWorks at the end of it, and how did that go for you?
Yeah, so my first internship was in summer of 2022. As I said, I've got a background in design engineering, specializing in human-computer interaction. So an opportunity came up for a UX design internship at MathWorks. And that really aligned very well with my own goals, which was to get into this kind of front-end design space, but I wanted it to be in a very technical area. So can't really get any better than MathWorks for that kind of role. So my first one was a 3-month internship where I was doing design work for the parallel computing team. So completely unknown, effectively, technical area for me. But I really loved that I got to learn so much about it. And that was my main driving factor for coming back for the second internship. My second one was actually a lot longer. It was 6 months. That was part of my university program that I was asked to do a 6-month placement. So that was kind of, I was like, this is another, I've got 6 months. I can get even deeper into a new area that I haven't learned much about. So when I came back for my second time, I was working with text analytics team, which were again doing design work, but to do with a lot of machine learning and natural language processing. So throughout kind of both of those, it was quite a progressive like feeling that this a lot, and the work is very, very interesting. So that was what was kind of my driving thing to come back for a full-time role as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to talk about your role a little bit later on, because you're on a slightly different route, aren't you, to everyone else. So we're going to find out a bit more of that in a bit more detail. But just going back to those kind of internship experiences then. And again, it's just, I want to really drill home to students that maybe are considering any kind of work experience while studying, how beneficial it can be. What was the benefit for you when you did go back to study, and what skills would you say that you learned when you were in your final year?
Yeah. So as kind of Amelia mentioned about when you have to do a longer term, your thesis or dissertation, how to work individually, but also collaboratively. That was something I really I learned very well here. There are also technical things that I learned. I got more into machine learning when I was here as well. So there are those skills which are very, very important. And also the the ability to, and a kind of the confidence to learn on the go, because I think especially when you're a student, you're like, I don't really want to, you know, venture into this new area unless I've done modules on it before. But when I was here, I did the training. I kind of was very much like on the go, on the fly learning and learning on the job. And so that gave me a lot of confidence in myself that I could do that. So then I think the fear of kind of exploring new areas went away quite a lot. So I was like, okay, this is something I've not, you know, if I had the opportunity to take modules that I've not done before, I was like, okay, I'll give it a go, because I know I can trust myself to learn on the go. So that was something really, like, that I really got out of my internships here as well.
Perfect. And, you know, if there are any students listening that haven't had an internship experience or any kind of work experience, that's still absolutely fine as well, isn't it, Amy? You know, you're still looking for, again, examples of all those soft skills. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in industry, does it? It could be in personal experiences, whether, you know, if someone's maybe upskilled themselves in a certain coding language, maybe, or, you know, in a society group. There's so many different ways that people can evidence those skills, isn't there, when you're looking at applications?
Yeah, 100%. And it's not a requirement to have done an internship at all. As I said, when we're looking at applications, it's a very holistic view. We're looking at, obviously, at your education, but even like things like being part of societies or involvement with any events, or even like part-time work that's not related to your degree at all. There's different aspects, or again, you've done like a boot camp for like a coding challenge, or there's different things that when we're looking at that, it's very holistic. It's not this person's an internship, let's pass them through. That's not how it works.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely wanted to make that clear. That, yeah, don't worry if you are thinking, oh no, I haven't got that experience. Just think outside the box now. How else can I evidence I've got those skills? So fantastic. Anusha and Amy, thank you so much for that. And Anusha, we will come back to you, like I said, in a bit more detail to find out more. Carl, I'm going to come to you next. Last on the list, I do apologise, you're the last to be introduced. But hello, Carl. And if you could just tell us a bit about where you went to university and what you studied.
Yep. So I went to the University of Cambridge, and I have a background in mechanical engineering. So I did an integrated master's, and then I did a PhD, which I finished earlier this year.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell us a bit, you know, Carl, you know, maybe why MathWorks for you, you know, doing a mechanical engineering degree, you know, there might be the more obvious industries to go into, but why did MathWorks stand out for you?
So I spent a lot of time using their software during my PhD, got very familiar with it. And I like the idea of software, but what really makes it stand out is that a lot of their software is to do with like engineering stuff. So it felt like the best of both worlds. I could do something related to software, but also still be able to kind of make use of the engineering knowledge that I've gained.
Absolutely. And I mean, a bit like what you mentioned earlier, you work across so many different industries, you know, already working with companies in the automotive sector and things like that. So yeah, you've also got that benefit of having that additional knowledge as well, haven't you? Brilliant. Okay, so tell us a bit then about kind of your team so far at MathWorks, Carl. So you joined again, when did you join, sorry?
March.
So, okay, I did 2 internships. So the first one was in summer 2021. Second one was in summer 2022. And then I finally joined as a full-time EDGer in July this year.
Fantastic. So yeah, tell us a bit about that experience then and how you found that with MathWorks.
Well, with the internships? Yes,
please.
Yeah, I found it very enjoyable, and it wasn't something that I originally planned to do. So the internships that I did were with the Simscape team. So they develop physical modeling software in Simulink. And it was actually work related to my PhD. So I was developing models of heavy duty vehicles using their software, which I was then able to use in my PhD to do some testing.
Yeah. Fantastic. And so tell us a bit then about your kind of graduate experience then. So you kind of did those experiences. You wanted to come back as a graduate. What's life been like for you since you've started officially in March?
So I've July. So I did, yeah, I did my 3 months of training. And then since I started, it's 50% doing the technical support stuff, and the other half is doing project work. So far I finished one project, and I'm about halfway through the second one. The first project was a software development one, which lasted 3 weeks, I think. And that was developing something in C++, which is not something I've ever had experience with before. So a lot of that project was ramp up and learning the software that the team was using. But the end result of that project was that we submitted something that will be released in a later release of MATLAB that was a pain point for customers. So I was actually able to make a proper change. And then the second project, which I'm currently in the middle of now, is with the application engineering team. So the application engineers are a customer-facing role, and they sort of focus on helping customers understand how they can better use our tools to meet what they need and overcome their challenges. So that's working on a problem that a customer had where they developed a workflow that ran very, very slowly, and they were wondering how they could better use our projects to make it to make it run faster. So I'm about halfway through that one now, and the second half of the project will be finishing that off and then showing what we've done to the customer.
Fantastic. And I'm assuming the answer is going to be, it's going to be variable, but how long do projects typically last? Do you ever have a project which is just ongoing and it's almost, maintenance of a service or something, or do you have kind of it's kind of all and done within just a couple of weeks? How quickly do you change from project to project?
So when I was looking for my first one, I saw projects ranging from about 1 to 3 weeks for like a first project. But I think I've seen some that have ended up lasting for a few months.
Yeah.
The first one that I did was only meant to last 2 weeks, and it ended up overrunning, so that got extended by an extra week. But yeah, I think, Corey might know this better than me. I think he did one that was about 3 months long.
Okay.
Yeah, I did one that was a lot longer. I guess it's the kind of depends what level of depth you need to go to really learn what you want to learn in the project. So there's always opportunity to go further.
And absolutely goes back to your point, Corey, as well, of it. Every day is different, isn't it? You can move from project to project quite quickly, or, you're with something a bit longer, which is great. You've got that variety. So Carl, thank you so much for that. Amelia, I'm going to come back to you. So you obviously joined MathWorks in October, and, you haven't been there that long, but I just want to talk to you a bit about the kind of induction process and how the initial training was for you and how you found that experience, and how did MathWorks kind of help you through that?
Yeah, so there was I'm on month 2 out of 3 of my training, or I've just finished month 2 out of 3. So there is a lot of training in the first 3 months, and it's a mix of self-led training and then also some workshops, instructor-led training, and there's also quite a bit of learning on the job. So one thing that I found slightly scary at first was that in our second week, we were taking real customer cases, working with customers. It's very early on, and I was a bit nervous at first about that, as I had limited experience of MathWorks products before I joined. But it was a really, really effective way to learn, and you've got so much support around you. It's not a sink or swim environment. You're really supported, so you'd have to try really hard to mess up early on. So there's a lot of support there. But it was great to sort of get stuck in early on. So even though the first 3 months are all training, you're very much doing real work from the get-go. And that is one of the ways in which you're expected to learn, and it's an incredibly effective way to learn. So it's a gradual ramp up of responsibilities over 3 months, but there's a lot of support the entire way.
Yeah, fantastic. And Amelia, again, it's great that you've been honest. And was you ever in a situation where you thought, oh, I'm not too sure here, what should I do? And did you feel as though, like you said, obviously you have said that there was someone there to ask, but what was that situation, if you don't mind, and how did you kind of get around that?
There's been so many of them, because
and that's great, and that's what it's good to talk about, isn't it? Because
nature of the work is that each customer case is so different, and so many products, and the ways that customers their issues tend to be on quite niche cases and on quite domain-specific areas. So there's no way you can know all the answers to begin with. So you're really encouraged from the get-go just to ask questions, leverage the knowledge of the people around you throughout the company, use it as a sort of networking tool almost to get to know other people. So I can't think of on the spot one particular case that was particularly bad, because there's just been so many little things where I thought, I'm out of my depth here, but I now know who I can talk to about this. So it's a real team thing. People develop knowledge in certain areas and they become known for having knowledge in those areas. So you're expected just to go and have a chat with them. So it's the whole nature of the customer support side of work is really just, you don't need to know the answer, but it's good to know who to ask for next steps. And that's really, really encouraged. Never suffer in silence, always ask questions.
I love that. And I think, again, that's such a great mantra to have, isn't it? You know, when doing anything new, but it seems as though that's a bit of an ethos really at MathWorks. You know, they want that person who's a bit inquisitive, wants to know more, and just go and ask. You know, you've got a group of fantastic minds. Yeah, go and find out more. So why not? So yeah, thank you so much for that, Amelia. Anusha, I'm going to come back to you because, yeah, as I keep saying, you've got a slightly different role. So just tell us a bit in a bit more detail about your experience and about the UX design track that you are on. And if you can explain that, that'd be fabulous.
Yep, absolutely. So as I mentioned, I've got a background in human-computer interaction.
Yeah.
So whereas perhaps the others, the rest of the group are exploring different development teams that they think they might work with, trying to find out what aligns with their interests. All of my work is with the UX design team. So all of my projects, I take customer cases just like everybody else, but my project work is all in the design kind of area. So one thing that I think is great to note here is that just because my like track is pre-aligned to the UX track, it doesn't make the casework I do any less valuable, because I'm designing for the product. I now see how customers are using the exact products that I then propose a design for, or that I'm working on. So what it does is it really has because this is my first time working with customers, it's really shown me what I'm who I'm designing for. What are they even trying to do here? So it has led me to get so the areas I'm working with at the minute are very much to do with code generation and our automotive customers. I've not touched those areas before coming here, but I take the cases, I understand what they're trying to do. I will often go and annoy other people in the team, not annoy, go and ask them for help. So I just pop round to their desk, say, okay, look, this is a case that I've got, say, in this area. I've not used this product before. Do you know anything about, can you help me maybe understand what is the issue that they're having? Can you point me to the right direction? So that's how my case is a little bit different, because I'm pre-aligned to a UX design track. So all my projects are in that area.
And how easy would it be to kind of jump down your route and instead of maybe doing Carl and Corey's and Amelia's route? If you did start on that and think, actually, no, I'm quite more interested in this, could you switch over if you wanted? And
I think so. Amy might be a bit better place to answer that. I've not had to make those decisions yet. I think so. I think that I could switch. For me personally, it's not something I'm looking to do, but I think MathWorks in general give you a huge amount of flexibility in terms of deciding what role is right for you, because if you don't think the role is right for you, then you're not right for that particular role. So they're very supportive and flexible in terms of letting you find what your space is.
Yeah, definitely. Amy, I'm guessing you're nodding, so that's an absolute yes.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that. Like as Anusha mentioned, like her degree program, it was in design engineering. Obviously having that technical background, and like all the positions that we're hiring for at MathWorks, obviously, as I mentioned, we do look for that STEM degree and being able to program in one language, and obviously having that problem solving mindset. So we've hired design engineers into a typical traditional, I guess, like EDG, engineering development group position. It doesn't take anything away at all. And if Anusha was to say, this is not for me, when we're obviously hiring, we're hiring for the program, so that Anusha would have the skills to move or transition into kind of other teams as well. Obviously, we can provide additional support, but kind of the baseline is there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really good, and it's good that we have got that option. And ultimately, Amy, from your perspective, you want the right people in the right role, so then they can succeed. So that's really great that there is that flexibility.
Yeah, we don't want someone to leave.
Exactly. No, 100%, 100%. So that, yeah, really great point there. So thank you for that. Corey, I'm going to come to you next. We've kind of touched a bit upon obviously your experience since you've joined, but I kind of want to talk about kind of the end bit. So you know, finishing the program and what life would look like for you after the program, and tell us a bit more about that in a bit more detail, and what it is to come off the program and what the next projects will look like.
Yeah, sure. So I will officially be a software engineer in January, because I will be transferring out from the engineering development group to one of our code generation teams here in Cambridge, covering a few areas. Some of it's kind of automotive, some of it was kind of more actual C++y stuff. I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, covering a few areas. So I'm really looking forward to that. So kind of what that looks like is I've been working with this team very closely now, doing projects with them for a while, and each project that I've done has been slowly building on the previous one to kind of contribute in kind of more advanced or like more significant ways, really. And in this time, I'm trying to basically identify, like, is this team and is this role the right fit for me? And at the same time, the team managers also be doing the same thing, looking at me. Am I the right fit for the team?
Yeah.
So as you're doing that, you'll be learning and developing the skills that you need for this team, really. And it gets to the kind of point where I was, where the skills I've got match what team needs to be able to do the job. So when you get to that point, obviously you kind of apply for a position there. You then start the kind of transfer process. And then when I transfer, I will already have all the skills needed for the team, and I can already do the work. So it's quite seamless. So you can essentially just kind of join and hit the ground running. And then kind of what it looks like from now on is, obviously I still have an ongoing project with this team that I'll be joining. So we'll continue that when I join the team full time.
Yeah.
But then also I'm now wrapping up all my kind of EDG type tasks and responsibilities that I've had ongoing. And then now I'll be leaving these opportunities for the newer hires to take some leadership roles or some other kind of technical areas that they can get involved with.
Fantastic. And Corey, if you had, say, a 5-year plan, do you have a 5-year plan? What life would look like for you? Can you ask that question? You know,
I don't really have a 5-year plan. I'm trying to think more. Really, what I want to do is, I like the company. I think the program really makes you realize the impact of the work we do. So my kind of 5-year plan is really to keep progressing in the team I'll be going into, and I kind of just want to climb the ranks a bit there. I would like to become a manager, kind of, but still remain technical at some point in the future. Maybe that's more than 5 years. But really, it's just work on more important stuff as I go. And in this new team, that's really what I'm focused on. And we'll see what happens at the end of 5 years.
I'm sure you'll do it, and I'm sure you'll succeed. So thank you so much, Corey. And sorry for chucking that in randomly at the end.
No
but yeah,
worries.
just interesting to see what life would look like once you come off the program. And that sounds really interesting. Carl, I'm going to come to you. Just to talk a little bit about kind of the social aspects of working at MathWorks, and you know, kind of any extracurricular activities maybe you could get involved in at MathWorks. I heard before the session that you've got your Christmas party, for example, tomorrow. So that sounds great. But is there anything else that you've been involved in so far?
This one isn't something I've been involved in, but probably the big one this year was the summer celebration we had. So that was to celebrate our 40th anniversary. I think Corey was the only one here that got to go, but they all went to, the entire company got to go to Orlando
Nice.
for a few days. Yeah.
That's cool, isn't it?
And then what else do we have? So just in general, we socialize as a group a lot. You know, we're all very similar age, so you know, there'll be pub nights after work, going out and doing bowling, stuff like that. There's also the opportunity to do team events with the people that you're doing a project with. So they might be going out for lunch together, or have an activity planned that you can participate in. we also can participate in the Formula student competition. So this is a university competition where students design and build a racing car, and MathWorks is a sponsor for that. So it's an opportunity to go down to Silverstone for the event.
That's really cool. Yeah, we've got a lot of Farmer Student Society hubs live on Gradcracker, which I know Amy frantically likes a lot of them. So that's really great. We're well aware of your involvement, so it's really great that you guys do that. Amelia and Anusha, just quickly, because I want to hand back to Amy now we've got her back, and talk a bit more about the recruitment process. But just relocating, again, it might be on a few people's minds, the idea of relocating to Cambridge. I can't remember who said, but someone said it is a beautiful place. As I know, I had the luxury of going to the university campus there before as well. But you know, what was it like relocating for you, and how did MathWorks support you doing that kind of commitment to relocating?
There was a lot of support from MathWorks. They're aware that property market isn't the easiest to enter at the moment for renting. So they provide temporary accommodation for around a month beforehand. So that gives you a base in Cambridge, so that you've got somewhere to be settled, and it's up to you when that starts. So some people did it so that they had a whole month in Cambridge before they started work, so they could focus on a property search. I did sort of a half and half thing. And there's a lot of flexibility there in case rental agreements fall through or there's any issues, but it would have been a nightmare to find accommodation or get a flat or a house to rent without that safety blanket. So that makes a massive difference. And with that as a sort of first step, it was a very, very easy process to move. So it just took all the pressure off the rush of finding somewhere. I had a place for a month that gave me plenty of time to do viewings and find somewhere that suited me. And everyone at the company is really, really friendly, and you can ask anyone for help or advice on locations, help on estate agents, and then just general settling to the city. So it was very, very smooth.
Perfect. Brilliant. And Anusha, do you want to add to that regards making friends? That easy?
So like I personally I chose not to use the temporary accommodation just because I wanted to be set up in my own place before starting. But as Amelia said, it's great. It was a great safety blanket to know that if I wasn't being able to find a place in time, I had an option. And also in general, like MathWorks was super supportive. Even though I wasn't even working here at the time, I was emailing Amy saying, hey, can you give me references for my flat? And all of that stuff. So they were super supportive throughout the whole process. And I know like it didn't apply for me because I didn't need it, but I know of people who, you know, ask their managers, can you just give me half an hour off? I want to go do a flat viewing. And they were like, please go. You need somewhere to live. So it was really great to know that they were super supportive about the whole process.
Perfect. And Amy and Steph, we're going to hand back to you now because we want to find out how we can all apply and what the next steps are.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jess, and thank you so much, everybody, for your overview. Actually, one of the questions I was going to come back to Amy with was around sort of the relocation. That was from Lucas at Strathclyde University. So hopefully that's answered your question, Lucas. But yeah, Amy, coming back to you, I'm glad we got you back. We did notice that Amy had disappeared, by the way, everyone, but we were just kind of hoping that she was going to jump back in, and here she is.
Yeah, for some reason the connection just went and just kicked me out of everything.
It's always the worst timing, isn't it?
I know, but I'm back. It's too much.
No, you didn't. So yeah, we're just literally coming on to your bit now. So yeah, so as we mentioned, your roles are currently live on your hub on Gradcracker to apply to. So when the students click on that job description on the apply link on Gradcracker and come into your site, what are the next steps in terms of the recruitment process from there?
Yeah, so obviously, all positions are on Gradcracker. So if you go via that link, that will then direct you to an application process through to MathWorks from Gradcracker. So recommend you use that. And once you've applied, you will receive a link to a code challenge on HackerRank, and also a short video interview on HireVue. That's for full-time. And then for interns, you won't get a video. There'll be some written questions that you'll need to respond to. These initial questions, like for both routes, they're very much like what interests you about MathWorks, why you're a good fit, it's not an interview, it's not anything extensive, really short. And obviously you've got the code challenge as well. Once you've completed that, they then obviously come back to us for review, and then get reviewed by obviously the recruiting team, and then passed on to the management of the group. The next step so will be for both, so for interns and full-time. So interns, you will have a technical interview on Teams. Our technical interviews are all run by current team members as well, so it's a good chance for you to meet a potential peer, learn a bit more day-to-day from someone that's doing the role as well. So technical interview, and then interns will have a manager interview and a short HR screen at the end. For the full-time, you will have, after you've applied, you will then have a call with one of the managers, and that is like an introductory type call, get to learn more about the role, the team, opportunities. We can learn more about you. And then you'll have like a formal interview. Again, this is also on Teams, and that will be a technical interview, again, with a current member of the group, and there'll be a manager interview and a HR interview, and this is all done in one day.
Amazing. Thank you, Amy. And I'm going to come back to you, Corey, now, just to kind of expand on what Amy's told us there, because you've been on both sides of the coin now. So you have been through the interview and you also now conduct the interviews. So can you tell us a little bit more about that process, how you found it, and any hints and tips you could give our audience about how to be successful?
Sure. It was obviously a little bit of a time ago now when I did my interviews, but I do remember it pretty clearly. I remember the HireVue kind of video interview bit being really relaxed, like there wasn't really anything to worry about. It was really just kind of, as Amy said, it was questions just to show that you understand the role that you're applying for, and that you can demonstrate that you like are interested in the role or in the opportunities it brings. So like, as long as you were being enthusiastic and honest, then there was like nothing really to worry about for that. But then for the coding challenge it was pretty good actually. I had quite a decent experience when I did it. It was it just really allowed you to demonstrate your maths and problem solving skills, and then as my coding language choice at the time was MATLAB, I just answered kind of some MATLAB coding exercises to kind of test my ability in programming. But it can be different for other people who use other languages, because you'll get exercises based on the language you use. But the challenges weren't dissimilar from anything that you'll learn or be doing at uni. There's nothing to trick you, so as long as you just read the question and plan it out, that you'll be fine.
Amazing, thank you, Corey. But then, go on.
So yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to give some advice then, as someone who
I'd love some. Yeah.
Well. So I definitely say that some things that I've learned from interviewing candidates is be able to talk about anything that you put on your CV. Please make sure that you can discuss it in depth, because that's what we're trying to look at. We're trying to look at the depth of your understanding, technically, really, and use your CV to really kind of show off and advertise the projects that demonstrate this, because we don't always know. So please try to show this off to us. Try to relax. I know it's hard to say, but given that, hopefully knowing that like we were in the position that candidates are in, maybe as little as like a year ago, hopefully they can take some comfort in that. But kind of more when you're kind of doing the kind of exercises during the interview is voicing out your thought process, assumptions, the code you're writing, anything that demonstrates kind of how you approach to solve a problem is we're interested in just as much as kind of what answer you give, because we're kind of, we want to be able to kind of hear or be inside your head really to kind of see how you handle a question or a problem. And yeah, kind of lastly, it's if you're going to do, when it comes to the coding side, make sure that the code you're trying to do you can actually implement. Is one thing, because we do kind of want to get to a point where we've got something tangible in the interview, but also definitely try to show off. If you've got a question where you can leverage some more optimal solution, or kind of some, I don't know, some more like language-based data structures, or just something that shows that you have some additional depth to show that you're a strong candidate, definitely show off. That's really, really what we want. So kind of, make it your own, the interview, but don't rush it. Just, I'd say that's probably everything I can think of.
That's great. Thanks, Corey. Yeah, show off. That's good advice. Show off your knowledge, show off, what you've got to offer. Don't try and be modest during this process. You're trying to sell yourself. So that's good advice. Thank you, Corey. Before I kind of come back to Amy for the final kind of hints and tips from the recruitment side of things, I'm just going to come back to you, Anusha, just to talk about the process of returning as a graduate from being on the internship. How did that work for you?
Yeah. So kind of throughout the internship, MathWorks was obviously kind of evaluating me and how well they thought I would fit in. I was also evaluating whether or not I thought I fit well with the role. So as I was coming to the end of my second internship, I was still evaluating what my future career path would be, whether it was in industry or in academia. So MathWorks were great in that they gave me so much flexibility and space to make that decision without creating any pressure on me of like, we need a decision by now or anything like that. They very much gave me the space, but they also stayed in contact. So I was in contact with Amy, I was in contact with my project team, so the UX design team, while I was making that decision. So when I did decide that I think MathWorks is a good fit for me, it was just very easy to just get back in touch again and say, okay, I am interested. And after that, it was pretty like smooth and quick process into coming back.
Amazing. And I think that's something that we talked about before, wasn't it, Amy? Is you're not going to put a load of pressure on people. You want people to be able to make the right decisions. And I think something that's come across throughout the webinar is flexibility. We've talked about flexibility on when you can start. We've talked about flexibility of, what you can do when you're actually in role and how much input you can have into different projects and different teams that you're working in. And then flexibility on, being able to make the decision to come back in the time that's right for you. Because I think what Anusha, you said there is, it's a decision for both of you. It's not just MathWorks offering you the position, it's you deciding that you're going to be, that they're going to be right for you as well. And I think that's something that often our students, you don't always think about that. You have to make sure that the employer is the right place for you as well. So I think all really, really great advice there. So thank you so much, everybody. Amy, before we finish off, any final hints and tips for our audience before applying to you after the webinar?
I would say just be yourself. Obviously we want to see what you can bring to the team. I've mentioned obviously we hire from different degree backgrounds. We've got a really diverse international team, not just in the program but throughout the organization. So everybody can always add something different. So we really want that to shine through. I know Corey touched upon sort of the CV side of things, talking about your experience. And I guess the other thing, just use it as a chance to interview us. Like Anusha said, like throughout the internship, she also was assessing, is MathWorks right for me? Ask us questions that you want to know about, like the team, the culture, the role, so that you can build a picture to make sure that we're the right employer for you at the same time, and get all the information that you would need to make that decision about your next steps. And I guess the final point would have a think about obviously why you want to work at MathWorks, and we want to know what your passions are, where your interests are, what you want to do longer term, so that we can help with that career growth as well. And obviously looking at like our values as an organization is always a good starting point.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Amy. Great way to finish off there with some great hints and tips, and everything that Amy's just said in terms of researching MathWorks. You can find everything that you need on the Gradcracker Company Hub. We have all of that information laid out for you. We've also got in-depth information about the recruitment process that we've touched upon today. So if you need any further information, that is there as a resource for you too. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us on the webinar today. It's been a fantastic insight into MathWorks. Every time I speak to people from MathWorks, I just think it comes across as such a lovely place to work. And I know that the four of you all work really closely together, and it's been great getting to know you all. So the recording of the webinar will be available for you to watch in full on the MathWorks Gradcracker Company Hub as of tomorrow. We'll also then break this webinar up into some bite-sized highlights covering some of the key topics we've discussed today, of which there are a lot. And remember, our employers absolutely love it when you tell them you've watched their webinar, as they know that means you will already have a really good understanding of the company, and it shows you have a real interest in working for them. So make sure you go and get your applications in for MathWorks and let them know that you were here. So Jess and I will be back on the 16th of January now, where we'll be joined by CERN. So make sure you all get registering for that webinar. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a fantastic Christmas and New Year. And thank you so much for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.